Dear students, welcome to lecture number 7 of research methodology. Our today's topic is research design. In this lecture, we will discuss the definition of research design and some relevant topics to the research design. We will start up with the definition of the research design, and then we will proceed to the different concepts related to the research design and the different research designs and basic principles of research design will be discussed in the part 2 of this lecture. So usually it's a frequently asked question for the research students that what a research design is. The terminology of research design is not new for the students of research. The need for the research design arises once researcher is cleared about his research topic. So once a researcher is cleared about his research problem, it means he has crossed an important bridge of the research journey, because the clearance of the topic, the clearance of the research problem is a basic step in the process of the research. After the clearance of the research problem, the research topic, the research issue, he proceeds for designing the study. And usually once a research problem is identified, it is finalized. This means that you have decided what to study. You are cleared about your vision, your plan, your field of study. Then after you come to know that you have what you have to study, you need to determine how you are going to conduct that study. And usually a number of questions come to the mind of the researcher. For example, what is the study about? Why is the study being made? Question arises that you are conducting this study, then why you are conducting this study? For example, you are interested in finding out the determinants of the motivation in employees. Then a question comes to mind why you are conducting this study. Similarly, once you come to know that why you are conducting the study, a question further arises: where will the study be carried out? Whether the study will be in-house, whether in a particular area, whether it will be a national level study, international level study, organizational level study, household level study. This question also comes to mind. Similarly, another question comes to mind of the researcher: what kind of data will be used in this study? Because once you come to know about your research problem and the causes of the study, you are clear about the objectives of your study, then the next step becomes the collection of the data. And a question comes to the mind: what kind of data should be needed for your research, whether it will be primary data or whether it will be secondary data. If it is a primary data, then how it will be collected, what will be the method of collection of that data, and whether it will be cross-sectional study, or whether it will be a time series data will be needed, or whether you are going to form the panel data will be used. So once you come to know the type of the data, then the next question comes to mind: from where the data can be, from where you will get that data, whether it will be collected from the individuals or organizations or households, and what period of time will be the study include. If it is a time series data or if it is a panel data, then definitely you will need to think about the study period. And what will be the sample design? How will you, if it is a primary data, then how will you draw the sample? What techniques of data will be used? How will the data be? Similarly, after the collection of data, further the questions comes to the mind of the researcher, that what kind of the analysis, how the data will be analyzed, what kind of techniques will be used, whether you will use the analyze the data with the help of graphs and tables, or whether it will be a quantitative analysis in the form of some statistical formulas and statistical techniques, econometric techniques. This question also comes to mind. And the question also comes to mind, what kind of what will be the style of the report, what kind of report will be needed. Similarly, the concept of research design covers all these questions. So research design, the question was, what is research design? A research design is a general plan to answer your research questions. It will contain clear objectives derived from your research question, specify the sources from which you intend to collect the data, and consider the constraints that you can have, as well as discussing ethical issues. Critically, it should reflect the fact that you have thought carefully about what you are implying why you are implying your particular research design. For example, it will be perfectly authentic for your evaluator to ask. Your evaluator can ask the questions: why you chose to conduct your research in that particular organization, why you chose the particular department, why you chose to talk about one group of the staff rather than another, how you have selected the respondents, why you have selected the respondents. These are the questions which can be asked from you. You must have valid reasons to answer all these research design decisions. Similarly, a research design is a plan, structure, and strategy of investigation so conceived as to obtain answers to research questions or problems. The plan is the complete scheme or program of the research. A research design is set up to decide on, among other issues, how to collect further data, analyze and interpret them, and finally to provide answer to the problem. Kothari, 2004. The purpose of the research determine the methodology and design of the researcher. Similarly, according to Sekara, the research design involves a series of rational decision-making choices. Look at this graph. This graph will clarify your concept regarding the research design. The research design, what you do in the research design, that you purpose of your study. The first step in the research design is the purpose of the study. Why you are conducting the study? What is the purpose of the study? Or is it an exploratory type of study? Is it a descriptive type of study? Or it is a hypothesis testing type of study? What is the purpose of study? Why you want to explore something in a specific field, or you are going to describe the characteristics of a sample of people, or a group of people, or a group of the respondents, or whether you want to test a hypothesis regarding a specific phenomena. Similarly, it involves the unit of analysis. You should clarify after the purpose of the study that what should be the unit of analysis. Individual, diets, groups, organizations, what kind of the unit of analysis will you use? Similarly, it is important to know what type of investigation you are going to study. So in the research design, you specify the type of study, whether it is a causal relationship or a correlational relationship, or group differences, or any other kind of the investigation. So you specify your type of investigation, and you also sampling design. You finalize your sampling design, whether you are going to use the probability or non-probability sampling, or and what will be your sample size. Similarly, the research design clarifies the extent of researcher interference, whether it will be a field study or it will be a controlled study. The controlled variables all are studied under the extent of research interference, how much the researcher is involved and how much the researcher interference can affect the variables. This is also part of the research design. Time horizon, whether it is a cross-sectional study or correlational study, and you also define here in the research design whether it is a contrived study or non-contrived. Similarly, you design the measurement units, what kind of the measures will be used. You define the items, you define the scaling, the categorizing, and the coding, and you define the method of the data collection. What kind of what if you are collecting data, then how will you collect the data? Whether you will collect the data through the observation, you will observe that, or you will conduct an interview, whether you will use a questionnaire, the questionnaire will be mere questionnaire, or whether it will be connected through the correspondence. Similarly, the physical measurement, or will measure the size, if you are conducting about the product size, or whatever the phenomena may be. So in your research design, you finalize the data collection method, and then a technique for the data analysis, what kind of technique you are going to use for the analysis of data, and the research reporting. So all this process is the research design. If you are clear about the design, if you develop an impressive research design, this means that you will be able to conduct an effective study. So we come to let's discuss in detail one by one the parts of the research design. So first comes the purpose of the study. The research study can be either exploratory in nature or descriptive, or may be conducted to test hypotheses, as discussed earlier. The nature of study, whether it is exploratory, descriptive, or hypothesis testing, depend on the stage to which knowledge about the research topic has advanced. It depends on the type of the knowledge which you need. The design decision become more rigorous as we proceed from exploratory stage, where we attempt to explore new ideas of organizational research. To study descriptive stage, we try to describe certain characteristics of a phenomena on which interest centers, or to hypothesis testing, where we examine whether or not estimated the relationships have been verified and answer to a research question has been obtained. So let's discuss these types of the research studies in detail. First comes the exploratory study. This type of study is conducted when we do not have much information about the problem, or no historical proof regarding its solution is available. An exploratory study is a valuable means of finding out what is happening, to seek new insight, to ask questions, to assess phenomena in a new light. It is particularly useful if you wish to clarify your understanding of a problem, such as if you are unsure of the precise nature of the problem. This has been taken from Sanders et al. 2009. There are three principles of conducting exploratory research. a search of literature. You can conduct the exploratory research through literature, interviewing experts in the subject, and conducting focus group interviews. These three principles are usually used for the exploratory research. Exploratory research can be likened to the activities of a traveler or explorer. Its great advantage is that it is flexible and adaptable to change. If you are conducting exploratory research, you must be willing to change your direction, as a result of the new data and new insights that occur to you. This type of the study, the exploratory study, needs extensive preliminary work to gain familiarity with the phenomena in the situation before development of a model or set up a rigorous design. Dear students, extensive interviews with many people might have to be undertaken to get a handle on the situation and understand the phenomena. More rigorous research could then be proceed. Some of the examples of such type of the studies can be through the observation or through the interviews. So now come to the descriptive study. The aim of, as discussed earlier, the aim of descriptive study is to describe a precise profile of persons, events, or some situation. This type of study is conducted when the descriptive study is conducted when you need some descriptive information about the persons, individuals, the organization, the situations, the events, some groups of people. The object of descriptive research is to portray an accurate profile of persons, events, or situation. In this type of the study, the aim is to describe the characteristics of variables of interest in a situation. For example, the population information. Respondent, you want to know what is the education level of the people of an area. You are interested how many are graduates, how many are the undergraduate, how many are matriculate, and what is the male-female ratio, what is the level of education by age-wise, or similarly sex composition, age groupings, number of semester left under graduation, and number of business courses taken, etc. All these are the descriptive type of the study. Descriptive studies are often undertaken in an organization to learn about and describe the characteristics of a group of employees. For example, age, educational level, job status, length of service, are working in a system. The management sometimes need information. The larger organizations, multinational organizations, need information about the employees, their background. They want to know about their background, so they can collect such type of information through the descriptive studies. The goal of the descriptive study, hence, is to offer to the researcher a profile or describe relevant aspects of phenomena of interest from an individual, organizational, industry-oriented, or other purposes. The such type of information, the descriptive information, is usually available in many studies which are done through the questionnaire or through the interview method, or such type of the method conducted for the for primary data. Hypothesis testing is another type of the study. Studies that involve hypothesis testing generally explain the nature of certain relationships or establish the differences among groups or independence of two or more factors in a situation. For example, we are interested in finding out the efficiency of employees with education, or the efficiency of employees with certain training. In such type of the studies, we need to test the hypothesis. For example, whether higher education affects the the performance of the employees, the efficiency of the employees, the output of employees. Examples of such studies can be, also be given. Hypothesis testing is taken to explain variance in the dependent variable or to predict organizational outcomes. Working the night shift is related to whether or not one is married, whether the marital status has any relationship with the night shift. A chi-square test of independence will easily provide answer to the question whether the night shift and the marital status are related or not. A review of the purpose of study. It is not difficult to see in exploratory studies the researcher is basically interested in exploring the situational factors so as to get a grip on the characteristic of phenomena of interest. Descriptive studies are undertaken when the characteristics of phenomena to be tapped in a situation are known to exist and one wants to be able to describe them better by offering a profile of the factors. Similarly, hypothesis testing, as discussed earlier, offers an enhanced understanding of relationship that exists among variables. It also could also establish cause and effect relationship. Hypothesis testing, therefore, can be done with both qualitative and quantitative data. Similarly, case studies are generally qualitative in nature and are sometimes used as a tool in the managerial decision making. Methodological accuracy increases as we move progressively from an exploratory study to hypothesis testing study, and with this the cost of the research also increases. The next step in the research design is the type of investigation. If you look at the picture, the type of investigation is another step. So a manager should determine whether a causal or correlational study is needed to find an answer to the issue of at the hand. The former is done. The causal relationship is done when it is necessary to establish a definitive cause and effect relationship. However, if all that manager wants is a mere identification of important factors associated with the problem, then a correlational study is called for. The study in which a researcher wants to define the cause or more of one or more problems is called causal study. For example, does smoking cause cancer? Or smoking is the cause of cancer? It is a causal study. A correlational study can be are smoking and cancer related? Are smoking, drinking, and chewing tobacco associated with cancer? Similarly, other questions can be correlational studies can be whether the education and employees turnover are related, whether the job satisfaction and turnover are related. These are correlational studies. The next step of the research design is the extent of researcher interference with the study. The extent of interference by the researcher with the normal flow of work at the workplace has a direct bearing on whether the study undertaken is causal or correlational. A correlational study is conducted in natural environment of the organization with minimum interference by the researcher with the normal flow of work. A correlational study is conducted in the natural environment, so there is very less interference of the researcher. For example, if a researcher wants to study the factors influencing training effectiveness, all that individual has to do is to develop a theoretical framework, collect the relevant data, and analyze them to come up with the findings. Suppose a researcher is interested in finding the impact of the training effectiveness. Usually we see in the organizations that in order to enhance the efficiency of the employees, the management usually give trainings to the employees. So after giving the training, the management may be interested in finding out whether this training has affected the output of the employees or not. So If for this purpose they will, what they will have to do, that they will conduct the this type of correlation type of study, and the researcher in this case have a very minimum interference in it. He will just have to design the questionnaire, and collect the data through that questionnaire, and analyze the data. Similarly, the study setting is another step of the research design, in which let me give setting to it. Organizational research can be done in natural environment, where work proceeds normally, that is in non-contrived setting, or in artificial contrived setting. Means the research can be conducted in both type of the settings, contrived and non-contrived. Contrived is artificial environment, controlled environment, while non-contrived is the environment which is a natural one. Correlation studies are always conducted in non-contrived studies settings, whereas most rigorous causal studies are done in the contrived lab setting. This means that the lab experiment, where the environment is controlled, is known as contrived study, and the field studies, they are non-contrived. Similarly, in the research design, another aspect is the unit of analysis. The unit of analysis refers to the level of aggregation of data collected during the subsequent data analysis stage. This is an important step of the research design. The unit of analysis, the researcher may be interested in obtaining the data from the individuals or from the groups, which depends on the type of the investigation he is conducting. So the unit of analysis depends on the nature of the study. In the unit of analysis, one unit can be individual. Example, how to raise the motivation level of employees in general. Then we are interested in individual employees in an organization, and would have to find out what we can do to raise their motivation. Here the unit of analysis is the individuals. The management is interested in finding out the motivational level of the employees, so differently they will collect data from the employees individually, and the unit of analysis in this case will be individual. The researcher looked at the data gathered from an individual and treating each employee response as individual data source. Diets. If researcher is interested in studying two-person interaction, then two-person groups, also known as diets, will become the unit of analysis. For example, analysis of husband-wife interaction in families, supervisor-subordinate relationship at the workplace are examples of such type of the unit of data. Groups. If the researcher is interested in finding out the data from more than two people, mean groups. If the statement is related to the group effectiveness, then the unit of analysis would be at the group level. The effect of, for example, the effect of the inflation on household consumption. In other words, even though we may gather data from individual comprising, say, group of 6, we would aggregate the individual data into group data so as to see the differences among the 6 groups. If we compare different departments in an organization, then the data analysis will be done at the departmental level, that is, individual in the department will be treated as one unit, and the comparison will be made on the basis of the department, because each department will have a group of the people from which the data will be collected. Time horizon. In a time horizon, we can have the studies which may be the cross-sectional studies, or maybe the studies may be longitudinal. Let me complete the reference. A study can cross-sectional studies. A study can be done in the data which is gathered just at once, or perhaps over a period of days, weeks, or months, in order to answer research questions. Such type of data is called one-shot or cross-sectional data. The data which is collected at a point of time is known as the cross-sectional data, and such type of data series are called cross-sectional studies. Longitudinal studies, in some cases, however, the researcher might want to study people or phenomena at more than one point in time in order to answer the research question. For example, the researcher may want to study the employee's behavior before and after a change in the management so as to know what effect the change accomplished, or if the employee's efficiency, the employee's output before and after training. Here, because the data are gathered at two different points in time, the study is not cross-sectional or one-shot, but it is longitudinally across a period of time. Such studies, when data on the dependent variables are collected at two or more points to answer a research question, are called longitudinal studies. So, after discussing the whether the study is longitudinal or the study is the cross-sectional, the relevant data for that study is collected. That is you decide whether the observation will be enough, or whether you will interview the people, whether the researcher will interview the people himself, or whether he will design a questionnaire, where a questionnaire will be designed and the data will be collected through questionnaire, or whether the researcher will measure the units physically, or any other source of data collection will be used. The next step is the data analysis, where the researcher decides on the basis of the nature of the study whether the study is qualitative or quantitative, and on the basis of that appropriate statistical and econometric tools are used for the analysis. And after analyzing that data, the researcher may be interested in writing the research report, which also depends on the nature of the study. So dear students, after discussing the research design, a sketch of the research design, let us discuss some important concepts which are relevant to the research design. While designing the research, you may come across these concepts. So therefore, before describing the different types of the research design, it is appropriate, it is necessary to define a few terms which are relevant to the research design. The first concept is the dependent and independent variable. We know that a variable is a symbol or concept which can take different values. For example, if you are in weight, height, income, price, all these are variables. This is also defined as a phenomena which can take on quantitatively different values, even in decimal points, are called variables, and such type of variables are called continuous variable. Similarly, we can have discrete types of variables where we have intervals. So this means that we have two types of the variables, the discrete variables and continuous variables. If the variable take all values under observation, then it is called continuous variable. For example, the time is a continuous variable, height is a continuous variable. Similarly, if the variables have some jumps or intervals, it is called the discrete variable. For example, price. Similarly, in our studies, our research design, we can have the dependent variable and independent variable. Usually you may have seen in the studies, we can say, suppose y is a function of x. Here the this identity shows that y depends on x, so y is known as the dependent variable, while x which doesn't depend on y is known as the independent variable. Extraneous variable. Independent variables that are not relevant to the purpose of the study but can affect the dependent variable are called extraneous variable. For example, we can have intervening variable. For example, we want to test the hypothesis that there is a relationship between children gains in social studies achievement and their self-concepts. The self-concepts of the students and the achievement in the social studies are achievement in economics. Why in the let's take the economics. Achievement in economics, the score in economics, and the concepts, whether they are related. In this case, the concept, self-concept, will be independent variable because the achievement in a particular subject, which may be social study or which may be economics, it depends on the self-concept. So the self-concept is independent, the self-concept is independent variable, while this achievement is the dependent variable. But we know that intelligence also affects the achievement in economics or the any other subject. So, but which is not a part of this study, but it can affect the achievement. So this type of variable is known as extraneous variable. Control. One important characteristic of a good research design is to minimize the influence or effect of extraneous variables. The technical term control is used when we design the study minimizing the effects of extraneous independent variables. In experimental researches, the term control is used to refer to the restrained experimental conditions. So control means to restrict the interference of the non-relevant variables. Confounded relationship. When the dependent variable is not free from influence of extraneous variables, the relationship between the dependent and independent variable is said to be confounded by extraneous variables. Research hypothesis. We know that hypothesis means a suggested solution. So suggested solution can be right or it can be proved wrong. When a prediction or hypothesized relationship is to be tested by a scientific method, it is called research hypothesis. The research hypothesis is a predictive statement that relates an independent variable to dependent variable. Usually, the research hypothesis must contain at least one independent and one dependent variable. Predictive statements which are not objectively verified or the relationship that are assumed but not to be tested are not termed as research hypothesis. Treatment. Treatment is another term which is used in the research design, in the research circles. The different conditions under which experimental and control groups are put are usually referred to as treatments. In illustration taken above, the two treatments are found the studies program and special studies program. Similarly, we can remove this button. If you want to determine through an experiment the comparative impact of three varieties of fertilizer on the yield of wheat, in this case the three varieties of fertilizer will be three treatments. Experiment. The process of examining the truth of statistical hypothesis relating to some research problem is known as experiment. For example, we can conduct an experiment to examine the usefulness of a certain newly developed drug. Experiments can be of two types: absolute experiment and comparative experiment. Experimental unit. The predetermined plots are blocks which different treatments are used. Where different treatments are used are also known as experimental units. Such experimental units must be selected very carefully. This should be carefully. The experimental unit should be carefully selected. Dear student, in order to get further details of this lecture, you can read these books, and the material used in this lecture has been taken from these sources. Thank you very much.